Hello and welcome into the debut edition of the Birds Huddle Podcast. Don't freak out. I'm not Dave Zangaro. I'm not Ruben Frank. Their Eagle Eye podcast will still exist. You're going to get them in full. This is a special little extra podcast for you. I am Mike Mulhern. I'm here with the Super Bowl champion, Barrett Brooks, former second-round pick of the Philadelphia Eagles. We love talking draft. We know you guys want more draft content. We're, a week out, going down to Pittsburgh. So, Barrett, how you feeling?
Well, first of all, you guys don't know what I know. The guy behind my ear when I'm on the show is my guy right here, Mike Mulhern. I mean, he's a savant as far as, everything Eagles, everything sports, period. He knows the little idiosyncrasies of what went on the past 20 years. So don't hold yourself short, Mike. Tell people exactly what you do and what you know. You're the brains behind this whole operation, man. You make things happen. I appreciate you, man. You started my career, got me going in the right direction, bro. So, yeah, we're talking draft right now, and we're going to talk about what we feel as though be quality for this Eagles team to go, not necessarily at pick 23, but throughout the draft. We'll give you a little bit of knowledge about everything.
Yeah, appreciate that, Barrett. Kind words, as always, checks in the mail. We've worked together for a long time. I produce Birds Huddle every night. I do Eagles pre- and post-game live. You may have seen me on an Eagle Eye episode or two. I write for the website every once in a while. But Barrett and I sit across from each other. We talk all the time, talking draft, talking about ridiculous things
right.
Kids and grandkids are, do or have done. So we figured let's bring that to you guys and talk a little football here. So let's have some fun. Let's do it.
Let's do it, man. Let's go.
All right. So first things first, I just want to kind of toot our horn a little bit. I feel like we've had a pretty good history of getting some of these Eagles picks right. Last year on our On the Clock special, right before, you said Jahad Campbell's the guy for the Eagles. They land him. A couple years ago, we talked trade up for Jalen Carter. That's the move. They did that. I had written trade up for Jordan Davis the year before. I said take Devontae Smith the year before that. So I feel like we got a pretty good idea of what Howie Roseman likes to do. So we're going to try to do that once again here.
Well, yeah, this is going to be a little harder, though, because he can't just go back to the well now. What I mean by the well, he can't just go to Alabama or go to Georgia, Well, yeah, he can. You're right. You're absolutely right. In fact, it's looking like he might go there again, because the success he's had at those two schools has been amazing. But, It's not hard when you think about it. Howie is going to go best available. That's where I feel he's going to go. But this year is a little different, man. I don't know which direction he's going. So this is going to be pretty tough this year.
Yeah, I agree. And, everybody's saying it's a tougher draft, a worse draft class than we've had in a little while. Everybody's already looking ahead to next year's draft, saying get picks for that year. So we'll see how things go down. But the way I kind of broke it down here, I made some tiers for the Eagles. For their first round pick, kind of guys I think they could trade up for, guys maybe a minor trade up for, and then, if you're forced to, you take them at 23 in this third tier, or maybe a slight trade up just to make sure you don't get totally boxed out. But basically, I think there's kind of a consensus 12 guys that are probably off the board by the time the Eagles are really in range to even make a trade up, unless they did something drastic and traded their second and future picks and got nuts. But this doesn't seem like the kind of draft where you're going to do that. There aren't those kind of prospects.
Right.
So I figure the 12 guys that are probably off the board, you got Mendoza's going 1 overall, David Bailey, Arvell Reese, Ruben Baines, Sonny Styles, Jeremiah Love, Francis Mauigoa, Spencer Fano, Mekhi Lemon, Carnell Tate, Caleb Downs, and Mansour Delane. A couple of those guys they probably wouldn't pick anyway, like Jeremiah Love, a running back. They're not going to be interested in that.
No, not at all.
Mendoza, we know, is long gone. Delane, I doubt they'd take a corner if he fell, but you never know. They've obviously invested heavily in that position. And maybe if one of those guys fell past 12, they might say, oh, my God, one of those tackles or one of those edge rushers somehow fell. I think they'd maybe sprint up and start working the phones to make a trade.
Well, they've done it before, one of our picks that we really didn't think that they were going to get was a cornerback, from
Toledo.
Toledo of all places.
And they didn't even have to move up for him.
Right.
Yeah, that board broke perfectly for them.
He had the measurables that you want, 4.3 speed. There's no way that he was going to be able to, we were able to pick him up where we picked him up. And what happens? We pick him up. In fact, we didn't even do a draft, when we put our draft board up.
Yeah.
We didn't do a breakdown on him because there's no way that he would be dropping to us. And what happens? He dropped to us. So,
he probably would have been in that 2024 draft. He probably would have been in that first category. I just did guys who probably aren't going to be there.
Right.
So here's my first tier, kind of in order of who I think the Eagles could want. and would want. So topping the list, I got Monroe Freeling, the tackle from Georgia. I'll give you the full tier here. Then I'm going Jordan Tyson, the receiver from Arizona State. Then Venga Ioane, the guard from Penn State. Caden Proctor, tackle from Alabama, who actually reportedly met with the Eagles fairly recently. And then Kenyon Sadiq, the tight end from Oregon, your boy Barrett. I know you love him.
Love him.
So that's my little 5-man tier here. I think that these are probably the next 5 best guys after that top 12. So if you want one of them, you're going to likely have to move up to around, just looking at the board, it looks like maybe 15 in Tampa, and that would probably cost you that 68th pick if you look at those trade value charts.
So you mean like a third rounder?
Yeah, so yeah, it's that early third round pick they got from the Jets for the Hassan Reddick trade. So I think those are the 5 guys that I would really hone in on. If they can walk away from day one with one of those guys, I'd be elated. What do you think about that list?
I mean, I love the list, but I think I'd have Sadiq a little bit farther up because he's been my crush the entire draft period. I mean, I've been looking at him. I mean, since the combine, even before the combine, I was like, look, I call college football games and I'm able to see this guy. I watched a lot of film of opponents that he played against him. He's got so much untapped potential. He ran a 4.3. I know he's going to test well. He looks like, Hercules. I mean, he has the body. He's built like that. But people don't understand what made him such a tool for me is I looked at him the year before where he wasn't the main guy, and he was a blocker / still a route runner, but he was also a special teams guy. So he can do the dirty work and go out there and block. He's pretty good at blocking, but now they let him go and become a starter. He's able to go out there and roam the middle of the field, and a quarterback, his best friend has always been his tight end. So, I mean, I would love to have him there, especially when we don't know what's going on with AJ. And I said, if he's not here, I'd want to be there because I think he could easily fit in as the number 2 receiver, even though he is a tight end. And, him and Devontae Smith can be very feasible threats at any point, in the offense. So, I mean, I love him. But, I mean, after that, it's up in the air. You're right. Jordan Tyson, a guy that I love also because my guy Hines Ward, he was just coach. He's a great receiver, 6'2", 200 pounds. But, he's one of those guys where you're not going to miss with him. He's going to be a guy that he can come in. He's going to play a lot, even going into the season, he's going to play a lot. He won't move his way into being a number 1 or number 2 receiver until, later on in his career. But, I mean, he can definitely come in and be that guy third down and, pick up a third down here and there. So I like him,
see the explosion he's got. I mean, he
for sure.
High point the ball, go get it. I think I'd be most excited if they left the first round with him, even over Sadiq. But I am of a similar mindset that I think AJ's probably not here by the time next season rolls around. And either way, they do have to, at some point, get younger and cheaper at that position when you're paying Devontae that much and you're paying AJ that much. Howie's talked a lot about that succession plan. So I think Tyson would be a lot of fun if he could end up in Midnight Green. What do you think about the 3 offensive linemen now we got there? We got Monroe Freeling, the tackle at Georgia.
Really good player.
Venga Ioane, and then Caden Proctor. How would you rank those 3?
I would go Venga Ioane first. I mean, he's probably the best. No, not probably. He's the best guard in this draft. He's a day 1 prospect that he can come in and start at any time. And we just don't know what's going on at the left guard position, from this point going into the future. We know I love Landon Dickerson. He's a mauler. I love the way he plays the game. He plays the game physical. But, it's always that but. He almost contemplated, retiring this year. You don't know what he's going to do the year after next.
Ride that mower and mow that grass.
Yeah, for sure.
Trying to get those stripes right in the lawn.
He's got to get it going, man. But he's probably the best guy. Then I'll go Monroe Freeling. He's also a guy that's going to sit back, and if he sits back and learns from Jordan Mailata, learns from Lane Johnson, man, this kid could come in and really be a great player from this point on. I mean, he'd be back into, one of the best offensive lines in the league because he could definitely go in and play and be explosive and just with the doctor order as far as the heir apparent to Lane when he does retire.
And he obviously only really a 1-year starter at Georgia, so he's a guy that kind of came on the radar late. I know when we first started looking at him, we were both like, "Oh, this kid can play."
Yeah,
he's not really. I mean, he just doesn't have a lot of reps, but he's not a project. He's a little raw, but you think he could play right away.
Yeah, he's nasty, and he's a finisher. He can run well. He gets up to the second level. He ran a 4.93, so he's an athlete. He's 6'7". I say that to say he's 6'7", 315 pounds. He could lose. He could use a little bit more, of an NFL body. He's going to lift. He's going to get strong. He's going to get bigger. It's going to be more explosive. But man, imagine if he goes and learns that pass set from both Jordan and Lane. Where they get off the ball at the very time when as soon as he gets up, they get off, and he's able to meet the guy
before
there.
The ball gets
snapped. Well, if you ain't cheating, if you ain't trying, man, so they get off a ball, and if he learns that, and he's already a good athlete, man, this could be a really, really, really good draft pick for him. And then Caden Proctor, I think he's the more likely candidate. If they do want an offensive lineman at pick number 23, I think he'll fall to around that area. And once again, great athlete also. I know we did a breakdown, and you definitely made sure we saw that when you put him in a
screen passes. Yeah, it's ridiculous. He has, I think, a 32-inch vertical at like 360 pounds. Like, that's absurd. Yeah, the guy can move. Yeah.
It doesn't even sound right. His measurables don't even sound right. You look at him, he's a massive man, 6'7", 352 pounds. He ran a 5.2 40. That's moving with a lot of weight. You know what I mean? So yeah, the potential is right there. He probably, instead of, you look at Monroe Fielding, he has to gain a little more weight, a little more muscle mass. He may still have to lose a little weight, but there's that untapped potential. Maybe it could be a Jordan Davis scenario. Jordan Davis lost the weight, got more, focused on being a great player, and bam, look at him now. He should have been a Pro Bowler this year. I see the same potential, in Proctor, getting in and really, turning his body into his temple and really working out the way he's supposed to work out and get that NFL body, get the baby fat off of him. He could be a great, great offensive lineman also, because he's already an athlete. And, he has that mindset that he wants to stay a tackle. I was thinking maybe we move him into guard if he does come here. He said no. He told his coaches, I want to play tackle. If you draft me as a tackle. I'll take care of it. And I think he can play. He played it, in the SEC at offensive tackle. So the ability's there. It's going to take a little work, but the ability's definitely there.
Yeah, and he's a starter from day one at Bama. Now, I know he doesn't want to move to guard, but if he comes here and you have Lane Johnson and Jordan Mailata to start things off right away, he might have no choice. But I think that maybe makes him a little more likely as an Eagles pick, because he could, in theory, play guard, whereas some of these other guys, are maybe more of a tackle only, like a Monroe Freeling.
Well, it'd be the same scenario you saw with Mekhi Becton. Mekhi Becton got drafted as a tackle, big guy, big tackle. Got with the Eagles. They made him into a guard. And I tell you what, ever since that point where they made him a guard, his careers went straight up. He became a mauler. He became a really, really good offensive line. I tell people all the time, I got drafted really to play guard, but some guys couldn't, weed wasn't legal back then, and guys
Bernard Williams, man.
But Bernard Williams, he told it too much.
First round pick.
It was supposed to be him at left tackle and me at left guard. And I think I'd have been a much better left guard. I probably had the potential to be a great left guard. Instead, I had to be an average tackle, But hey, 12 years later, won a Super Bowl. Things fell the way they're supposed to be.
Yeah, you can't. No regrets, Barrett. No regrets.
Can't regret.
If I had $1 for every time you said that about could have been a great guard, I'd be a rich man. But so would you if you could have stayed at guard. You would have got some big money. You could have made some Pro Bowls there. All right, so that's our group of 5 there in that first tier. How excited would you be if they came out of the draft with any one of those 5?
Any one of those guys, A+ grade, leaving the draft. I mean, they wouldn't have to draft anybody else. Those guys right there would potentially put us at the next level going into next year. And really, those are needs. Those are not needs. Those are more wants, but they're best available wants. To have Sadiq there and at pick number 23. You might have to jump up for him, or Vanga. That's another Christmas wish. I wish we had too. So those 2 guys alone, and Tyson, those 3 guys alone would be well worth it.
So you put those 3 at the top, and then kind of Freeling and Proctor below them. That's fair.
Yep.
Yeah, I get it. All right. So then the next tier for me is just 3 guys, and to me this is kind of. If the guys in tier 1 are kind of flying off the board and you're not able to trade up, teams are, not listening, not picking up your phone calls, and are just happy to stay and pick their own guys. This little group of 3, I think maybe you the way Howie operates, like we've seen him over the last couple of years, he's trading up one spot, two spots
Right.
to get guys. So he wants to ensure that he's walking away with one of his guys. So if that first group is flying off the board, he might say, hey, I got to get up to, pick 20, pick 21 to grab one of these. My headliner here in Group 2, Maxi Honachur, the offensive tackle from Arizona State. Then I've got Keldrick Falk, the edge rusher, defensive end out of Auburn. And then Casey Concepcion, the wide receiver, the speedster out of Texas A&M. To me, that receiver position, he's a different skill set than Devontae. He's lines up all over the field. They give him the ball in all different kinds of ways, has some return skills too. And I just think they look for one elite skill if they can at that position. And, he's got that speed that pops on tape. So in that group of 3, how do you like that group with Honachur, Falk, and then Concepcion?
Well, I'm going to just start off with Concepcion because you were just talking about him. Talking about bang for your buck. I mean, it's not like if you drafted him and you had to jump up to number 20 to get him, you virtually have your punt returner. I mean, he can come in.
Spend the 20th pick on a punt returner, but
I'm just saying, you have to, like I'm saying, if AJ is still here,
yeah,
and we have Devontae. He's still A1 or either one, both two A's as far as being starters, 2 great players. But then you have that guy that can come in and be that third receiver / if those guys are tired, put him in there. He's that explosive. He could be a slot receiver. His ability to run routes is crazy. His speed, explosiveness, change of direction. And if all else fails, you're going to have him on a 46-man roster on game day because he can punt return. So you're going to get bang for the buck. As soon as he walks in the building, you got a guy that's an instant starter at punt returner. Then, you got a guy that has the talent to go out and virtually be uncoverable, especially in man. He'd be uncoverable in man. But his ability to go out there, read zone, sit down where he's supposed to be at, and once he gets the ball, that's when the show starts. When he gets the ball in his hands, man, he's outrunning angles. He's creating separation in his route running. So when he does get it, he's going to be free and running around. Concepcion is a great he's a great weapon to have at your, at any point during the game. You need an instant spark, put him in there at the slot. Let him run a little route in the middle of the field, an angle route or a go route, or maybe a drag across the field, and let his talent take over. That's what he is.
That's a fair point about getting him on the field kind of regardless, because if you look at Honachur, who I have atop this tier, he's a right tackle, hasn't played a ton of football, didn't start playing until he got to junior college.
That's crazy.
A couple years ago, and now he's worked his way into the first round draft conversation. If you take him, in an ideal world, he doesn't see the field his first year because you have Lane Johnson at right tackle.
It's
so
ideal.
That's something you gotta weigh.
Yes.
I know Howie has talked pretty openly that they're looking for the best guy 2-3 years down the road. They're not necessarily looking to fill a need right away. So I do think Honachur, that's why I kind of put him at the top of this list. What do you like about him? I know you talked to your boy Hines Ward about him as well, and kind of what kind of player he was.
6'6", 321 pounds, ran a 4.940. Just leave it like that. Drop mic.
Done.
A great athlete. I mean, he's still early in his football knowledge of getting what it is to play in the NFL. He shut down, guys at Auburn. He shut down guys at Texas Tech. Really good pass rushers.
Yeah, David Bailey. We talked about he's going to be one of the top 3 picks. Yeah, they got Romello Height, who came in and worked out for the Eagles. He was on the other side. He shut both of them down. Yeah.
Shut them down, So his ability to play this game is untapped. He still has to learn how to really play, and he's doing a dang good job playing at an elite level. He has great hands, great lateral movement, gets out of his stance. He's untapped ability at, the guard position. A tackle position. You'll have to wait, hopefully, say in an ideal world, you'll have to wait. Because you don't want, Lane to take any time off or he's hurt or anything, or, same thing with Jordan Mailata. So he gets to learn from those guys, learn that pass set, learn how to be great offensive lineman. He'll have to sit down and wait for his turn. So, if you look at it that way, he wouldn't necessarily have to play right now. So you can sit back and have him in the reserve, So I think Concepcion could play day one. He would have to wait. But a guy that I really, really think that, the Eagles need on the defensive side of the ball is,
Keldrick Falk.
Keldrick Fault,
Yeah, he's
6'6",
the middle guy
285.
here, in this tier. Monster out of Auburn, and you like to say he's not an edge rusher. He is a defensive end.
Yes, D end. With his hand in the ground. It's a difference. It's a difference, I like to say that because these edge rushers are more linebacker-esque type of players that play at the edge of line of scrimmage, that rush the passer, 2-point stance and all that. He can do that, but he's more of a guy that you don't want to drop him off. He is a big frame guy. Like I said, 6'6", 285 pounds. He's coming off the edge. He wants to give a tackle everything they want. He has the ability to set the edge on run. He does have the ability to go out there and pass rush and get up the field and make things happen in the passing game. You can move him down to the 3 technique on NASCAR down. NASCAR is when you have all defensive ends in the game and you're trying to rush the passer that way. You can leave him in. He can come down and kick down to a 3 technique and rush the pass from there because he has size, 285, he has that size. So I like that type of player. We didn't have that type of player. We don't have that type of player on our squad right now. We have linebacker-esque, edge rushers in our fold, but we don't know about BG yet. BG's that, defensive end type of guy too. But right now,
BG might be more of a D tackle. He's a third down specialist D tackle. That's where he was kind of making hay last year. Yeah, I like Falk a lot. It's an interesting profile. He's a team captain. A starter from the get-go at Auburn, basically. The one knock is only 2 sacks his last year at Auburn. Had 7 the year before, so he has produced in the SEC. There is some concern that, he only had a couple sacks. It is interesting. A lot of the kind of national mock drafters who are insiders are kind of starting to float him down to the bottom of round 1, almost out of round 1. So I do wonder if there's maybe a medical concern that people don't know about. But because, when you look at that profile, 21-year-old kid who's played at a high level, you would think that guy's going top 15, top 20, no doubt. So curious to see where he ends up.
You need to get in that weight room a little bit, Mike. That's probably what it is. Upper body strength isn't his, forte. He's got to get in the weight room, get more stronger. He's got to bench press those offensive linemen off of him. So that might be a concern for guys, But, we're talking about a guy that's instant leader, instant production in the run game, can set the edge, gets penetration, tackle for loss. He had a bunch of tackle for loss. He may not have the sacks, but tackle for loss of his force is, what he's done the best, kind of what he describes himself as a guy that gets penetration, gets up the field, and makes things happen.
A great player. Would be very interested if he fell to 23. Now, we talked about in this second tier here with the Hanachur, Falk, and Concepcion, you might have to move up a couple spots. I think it'd probably cost you that 98th pick, which is at the tail end of the 3rd round. That's a compensatory pick that the Eagles got for Milton Williams signing that massive deal with the Patriots.
Right.
So, yeah, I think that's, the way Howie treats these picks, basically from like 75 to 150, he seems like he doesn't have that much value in them. He uses them to move all around the board, so I don't think he'd be shy doing that. One last thing on Falk, you talked about the need for that size, that body type at the position. Similar to a Jalen Phillips. Phillips is a little lighter, but the fact that they were willing to pay Jalen Phillips up to, it seems like they were probably willing to go close to $100 million. Obviously got 120 to go to Carolina, but they clearly think they need that kind of player. So that's why I think Falk would make a lot of sense here if he fell.
Yeah, he fits what they need, a needed position. That need is not necessarily a must need, but it's definitely a need for that defense to work.
Yeah, and it's interesting because last year they went into training camp with, what they have right now, basically.
Right.
They didn't have BG yet. They picked up Zadarius Smith after week 1. They traded for Jalen Phillips later on. So they basically went into the year with Nolan Smith, who was coming off being all banged up after that Super Bowl run, and Jalix Hunt. And that was kind of, they had signed Azeez Ojulari, who obviously didn't provide much. So the edge room is kind of in a similar spot right now to where it was last year.
Yeah, we need Howie Magic, man.
Yeah, he's always looking. All right, now this 3rd tier here, this is basically guys I'd only want if I traded down, or if I got totally stuck at 23 and every single guy ahead of me, came off the board. So we had 5 in tier 1, 3 in tier 2, and then I got 4 guys here in this 3rd tier. It starts with Omar Cooper Jr., the wide receiver from Indiana, who was here for a pre-draft visit. Then I've got Dylan Thieneman, the safety from Oregon. TJ Parker, a guy you just broke down the other day, edge rusher from Clemson. And then Caleb Lomu, the tackle from Utah, another guy we broke down this week.
Yep.
Let's start with Cooper at the top. A national champion, guy who played 4 years at Indiana, one of the few guys who kind of stayed at that program the whole time, and then obviously reaping the benefits now. Seems to be a name that's flying up the draft board a little bit. A little bit of a gimmicky, gadgety guy, and not
Deebo
like a
Samuels-esque.
Yeah, so like guy you'd have to scheme up a little more than not just like, hey, go out there and win one-on-one against the corner.
Right.
So maybe gives you a little pause about taking him there, but what do you like about him?
Well, I like he's a thick-bodied guy. You're not going to get that explosiveness like you saw with Concepcion, but you do get the reliability of running routes the right way, understanding how to play the game. If it's a hot read, he's going to make sure you see the hot, things like that. He's going to know exactly what to do and how to do it. He's going to run routes, and if it says you're going to go 10, come back, he's going to go exactly 10 and come back. And just like you said, you can do a lot. You can run tunnel screens with him. He'll catch it in the middle of the field, because he's a thick body receiver. He's not scared to get hit. He's not scared to do the hitting. He's going to go out there and block for you. He's the wide receiver that you want on your team to go out there and be a solid guy for blocking, a guy that's going to go out, pick up the first down, can run slants, take a hit, and still catch the ball with slant plays. That type of player, you need those type of players. He's not going to have blazing speed, but he's fast enough to get the job done.
Yeah, a little bit of a dirty work guy at the receiver position.
Right.
Now, Dylan Thieneman, the safety from Oregon, ran a blazing 40 at the Combine. I have him at safety. I was more impressed with him than Emmanuel McNeil-Warren from Toledo.
Me too.
We did talk about, they obviously took Quinion out of Toledo, McNeil-Warren's former teammate, and Nick Sirianni, one of his best friends, Matt Candle, is the head coach at Toledo. So they obviously talked about Quinion. I'm sure they talked about McNeil-Warren as well. But I went Thieneman in this third tier at safety. Do you think he would make sense at 23? Would you be happy if they ended up with him at 23? And the fact,
more than happy.
More than okay. Yeah, I'll let you go. Go ahead.
Oh, we got to get the Exciting Whites back together again. Get the band back together again. But now you have a guy that's, that can play deep safety. He ran a 4.340. But what makes him appetizing for, a defensive coordinator is his ability to play a lot of different places. You can line him up on a slot as a slot cornerback because he's fast enough to run with guys. And, he's not necessarily a cornerback, but he can play the slot position like a cornerback. You can line him up back deep and know that he can, have range to travel, both sides of the field. He can get there. He can cover there. You can put him in a box. And when you put him in the box, he can be that box safety that he takes great run angles. He's not going to go out and he's going to come up and hit you. He can do a lot of different things for Coach, Vic Fangio. And Vic Fangio loves those type of players. I equate him to Coop. Yeah. He's Coop. He may be a faster Coop. You know what I mean? That's how good this kid could be. I love him at pick number 23. If we had to stay there and he's sitting there, I really think he'd be the best available at, even with anybody else on the board. I think he'd be the best available at pick number 23. He's that good of a player, and I think that appetizing for Vic Fangio to say, look, hey, Howie, I need this guy here.
Yeah, so he'd basically be like the 22nd player on my board the way this broke out. So you might have to move up slightly, but yeah, if you're there at 23, everybody else is gone, I think that's a nice outcome.
No-brainer. That's a no-brain pick.
Now, the next two guys, TJ Parker and Caleb Lomu, I'd feel a little more comfortable if I could, drop back a little and then walk away with them at like 27, 28 later on in the round.
Yeah.
But Parker, we just talked about on Birds Huddle this week. Edge rusher from Clemson, really productive 2 years ago. This past season, less so, but a guy that can wreak some havoc.
Yeah, and what makes me love him is his ability when he's rushing the passer to always be moving towards a quarterback. Some defensive ends, he's a real defensive end. He's 6'3", 265, kind of BG-esque. But all his pass rushing moves are going towards the quarterback. He's ripping towards the quarterback. He doesn't give ground to go to the quarterback. He wants to get up their field and make an instant impact on the tackle. He wants to run through a guy rather than run around a guy, So if he can do that at the NFL level, man, hey, he would be a great pick, that you can get a little later on in the draft. But I do like Parker. He has perfect size. BG-esque type of player.
Yeah, 6'3", 265, so even taller than BG. I mentioned the stats. This past season, he had 5 sacks, no forced fumbles. The year before that, 11 sacks, 6 forced fumbles.
Yes.
Like his highlight tape, he's just strip sacking the quarterback. He's recovering himself. It's pretty impressive stuff. But that came 2 years ago, so little concern. Again, similar to Keldrick Falk, a little bit of a drop in production.
Right.
But the fact that you have it on tape, just how good you were, that certainly matters. The one thing I thought a little interesting when watching the tape that kind of jumped out to me, I was like, man, those tackles in the ACC were terrible. He was just abusing people like left and right. The tackles against NC State, I literally was like, is this like an FCS school they're going against here? And I was like, oh no, that's NC State. Like he was abusing some people on that.
Oh man,
he's like pit tackles. He's just running right. They didn't even get a hand on him with some of the highlights.
I mean, and that was the problem. You didn't see him go against upper echelon, guys like you see in the SEC, but. Hey, you can only play who you play, and if you can dominate them like that, hey, so be it. You're supposed to dominate guys like that. I can remember when I was playing. We played against lesser teams. We say lesser teams, but we played against New Mexico.
Well, you were at Kansas State, so there aren't that many lesser teams.
But I mean, we played against New Mexico State. Hey, I'm supposed to go out there and have 5 pancakes. You know what I'm saying? I'm supposed to go out there. I mean, I remember I played against Urlacher, in college.
Yeah, New Mexico, yeah.
He played safety then. So,
That's
I had to put it on him. You know what I mean? But it got a lot different when he got to the NFL. But, hey.
That's a different story.
Right.
All right, so the last guy here in this tier, another guy we broke down recently, Caleb Lomu, left tackle from Utah. A guy you're not in love with, certainly.
I called a lot of games, too.
Yeah.
Me calling games, and I honestly did like 4 of his games the last 2 years. And to me, I think he equates more to a guard because the offense they ran, that's what they did. They ran block all the time. They had 12 personnel in. They had 13 personnel in, but 2 of the tight ends, when you got 13 personnel, you got 1 running back and 3 tight ends. Well, 2 of the tight ends were tackles, so they ran the ball consistently, and they didn't get a lot of, really pass one-on-one type of plays. They always had a tight end their side on the outside or a back on that side, so they help him out a lot. But he's a pretty good athlete. He's going to fight. He's going to, get to the second level. I think he needs a little more urgency in his pass blocking, more so than his run blocking. Run blocking, he's going to be okay. But pass blocking, I think he needs a little more maturity in his pass sets to become a better player.
Yeah, we had Ryan Fowler on. You can follow him on Twitter. We just kind of brought him along for draft coverage. He's going to be on Birds Huddle. He'll be on our On the Clock specials next week as well.
Wait.
And he was talking about how, his concern is just how, if Edens can run through his chest, you talk about him playing a guard, like what's a D tackle going to do? So how concerning would that be?
Well, it's very concerning, but I'd rather have him in a box. I'd rather have him in a box rather than being outside. And and you do have those first class type of rush ins coming off the corner, and him trying to handle those guys. At least you have a double team the majority of the time, and you could call the protection to help a guy like that. But I mean, I can't see him at the tackle level. Being in the NFL, because those guys on the outside are just way too good to leave him alone like that, because he just hasn't had the prep, in how to be a pass blocker at the tackle position at the level he had at Utah. But is he a good athlete? Yes, he is. Does he need a little more work? Yes, he does. I think it'll be reaching at pick number 23. I think it'd be reaching
for sure
all the way up until pick 28, 29, or 30.
Yeah, now I put him on the list ahead of Blake Miller from Clemson. Would you flip that?
I actually would flip it because I think Blake is more of a mauler type of guy, man. He's going to go out there. He'd be physical with you. He's an athlete. He gets to the second level. I think he'll learn better at the tackle position. He equates better at the tackle position than Lomu does.
Yeah, Miller played, I think he started 54 games at Clemson.
Yeah.
Started from the get-go, never missed a game, so an Iron Man there. One other main name that I kind of left off the list, Denzel Boston, wide receiver out of Washington, big body guy. I think maybe in a trade down again, depending on how far they move down, it all comes down to the price you're getting paid. If a team, let's say the Cardinals want to move back up to 23 to get Ty Simpson, they're not picking till the second round. Maybe you're moving down, but they offer you enough that you're like, we got to do it.
Right.
You're picking early round 2. Maybe I think he could make sense there. Same with McNeil Warren if that, scenario broke out.
Right. He's got great size. He's 6'4".
Boston. Yeah.
So he's not a blazer. That's why he didn't run the combine and he didn't run at his pro day.
Yeah, the guys who don't run know they're not going to run.
Right.
It's not rocket science here.
But it's game speed. You look at his game speed, his elite route running, which makes if I wanted to, if I'm teaching a young guy how to run routes, I'm gonna put on a tape of him. Because he runs route great. His football acumen was up there. If he sees something, he's going to tell the quarterback, if it's a cat blitz, if the cornerback's on him, he calls it out and then runs the route, I love how he runs. If he's supposed to be a dig route at 18 and go across, he's going to be 18 and go across. Wherever he said he's going to be in that route, he's going to be there in that route. And I love the way he bends out. When I say bend, if he's on the defender's on him, leans into the defender, and then bends out for his move. Those are things, that big body receivers can do. He's a long strider, so his speed is a little deceptive. It looks like, you run a stride for stride with him, but his stride's a little longer, so he's pulling away from guys. But he's a very serviceable guy. He can come in and be a really good player. I've played with guys that you would think were blazers, but no, they weren't blazers. They just know how to run routes. They know how to get open, and that's what made them great. Hines Ward, I talk about Hines Ward all the time. Hines Ward is not the fastest guy in the world, but he always ended up open. Why? Because he's a master at understanding what defenses are trying to do to him, what they're trying to stop, and he counters that. If it takes him to run a route a little bit different, then he's going to do that and then go in and be exactly where he's supposed to be at. I think Boston's one of those guys also.
All right, so to recap here, Tier 1 we said would be basically an A+ if they walked out with any of these guys.
Absolutely.
Monroe Freeling, Jordan Tyson, Venga Ioane, Caden Proctor, Kenyon Sadiq. Might take a little trade up, might even have to get up to like 15 to get one of those guys. But I think that's kind of the tier that Howie's gonna love to walk away with. Tier 2, probably sticking and picking at 23, maybe a move up 1 or 2 spots. Maxi Hanachur from Arizona State, Keldrick Falk from Auburn, and Casey Concepcion, the receiver from Texas A&M. And then kind of our Tier 3 break glass in case of emergency.
Right.
If everybody else goes and you're kind of stuck at 23, ideally you'd pick up one of these guys with a minor trade down and pick up a little extra draft capital. But we got Omar Cooper Jr., the receiver from Indiana, Dylan Thieneman from Oregon, TJ Parker, and then Caleb Lomu. So that's our list here. I feel like we could just, Howie, just follow this and you'll be fine, right? He needs our advice. He doesn't really know what he's doing.
Take our list, internalize it, and get back to us on Thursday.
Yeah.
Draft Thursday. You could use it, all the information you need. Just give us a call if you need anything. Yeah, like I said, this is my guy, Mike Mulhern, finally in the mix. Let's go, baby. Let's go. The guy that's in my ear all the time, Mike Mulhern. Now, hey, he breaks everything down, man. I love working with you.
Appreciate that. Now, to close things out here, I want to do something, one of my favorite things, story time with Barrett. I love hearing his old stories. We'll save the ones that we can't tell on the air, certainly, but
this isn't regular TV.
Okay, all right.
I was told I can even cuss. I'm not going to cuss, though. I'm not going to cuss.
Yeah, first one, you can say that for maybe, let's get a little runway here with a couple episodes, then we can break out the bleep button.
Right.
But yeah, do a little story time with Barrett. I want you to tell me about your pre-draft visit with the Eagles. You were telling me this story the other day. Tell me how that went down. When did they call you? Where were you? And then how'd that workout go?
Oh, first off, it's 2 weeks before the draft. 2 weeks before the draft. I'm done with all my workouts and everything. Now I'm really celebrating, just right around the time I have, finals and stuff. I took my finals and everything. So I'm sitting back. It's a Friday. It's a Friday like 8:30, 9 o'clock. I get a call.
At night we're talking? Yeah.
At night.
Yeah.
I get a call from the Eagles. I'm like, whoa. Who is this? And I'm thinking it's one of my frat brothers, call him. I'm like, no, this is such and such, we need you to work out in the morning. I'm saying, all right, cool. But what time in the morning? So I'm thinking it's going to be around about noon, maybe 10 o'clock, somewhere around
Famously
there.
noon. In the morning.
Chucky's like, no, we need you to be there at Chucky's,
John Gruden.
Gruden, yeah, and then the offensive line coach was
Bill Callahan.
Yeah, Coach Callahan. It's like, no, we need you to be there. We'll be there at 7 o'clock. So of course I got to get there at like 6:30. So I put a couple of my libations down. I stopped drinking after that, and I'm like 3 shades to the wind. You know what I'm saying? Just want you to know I'm 3 shades to the wind. I'm pretty sauced up. It's 9 o'clock. It's a Friday night. I'm with my frat brothers. We're chilling out. Having a good time. I literally put a drink down, went straight to my bed, and went to sleep. Set my clock for 5:30. Got up, went to the stadium, and steamed for about 30 minutes. Then came out, took a shower, and then waited on them to get there. When I got out the shower, got my clothes on, I'm sitting in my locker. They are there at 6:30. 6:30 to work me out. Now I'm this far from throwing up. This far during the workout.
Even after steam, you try to sweat all that out?
Bro, there's only so much you can sweat out, man. But I'm like this far from throwing out. But they never knew. They're like, man, that was a great workout. Yada, 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 yada. Boy, when they finally took me and they took me to eat, went out to eat, best place in, Manhattan, Kansas. It's called Kites, it's a bar called Kites, it's not a lot. They put a university in the middle of a cornfield, boom, that's Kansas State. So we go to Kites, I'm sitting there, I'm still feeling, like a little hangover, and then what's the best way to get rid of a hangover? Sit down, order me a chicken sandwich, we're sitting there talking, have me a couple more libations. It worked out. I impressed them, what I mean? I'm getting drafted, So 58 was a 58th pick, in the second round. I thought I was going to go in the first. I was supposed to go in the first, but I went in the second round. But, it was cool. It was a blessing to do it anyways. But, come on now. Friday night, 2 weeks before the draft. Why would you call me that late? You can at least call me in the morning. I know how to prepare myself. No, you call me that night just to make sure you don't stumble me. That's what it was, So Coach Callahan made sure.
It feels like nowadays the prospects almost dictate it more than the teams do.
Oh,
it's like, we'll come work out for you when we tell you we're ready.
Well, look at this, though. I mean, it's crazy because a lot of these guys are getting pay cuts going to the NFL.
Yeah, Howie talked about that. Yeah, it's crazy.
I would stay in college another year to get that money, man, because just because you're a great college player doesn't mean it's going to equate to you being a great NFL player. We've seen that time and time again. These guys making, $800,000, $900,000, $1 million in college a year. Then they get to the NFL, they're cutting that in half. Now you're an average player getting like, $350,000. If you're a practice squad guys, right around about what, 150, 200. So, yeah, man, I'd have stayed in college just a little while longer.
Well, it was a great story. I appreciate it. I know I had to have you put the drink down before we hopped on to do this podcast. You sobered up for me, hit the steam room. So I appreciate you, Barrett.
Mike, hey, man, this is what we do, bro.
Yeah, Birds Huddle, our first podcast here. I'm Mike Mulhern with Barrett Brooks. We hope to do this many more times throughout the season. So be sure to tune in and check us out. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.
Appreciate you.